Namaste. Happy Diwali to all of you. I want to invite you to do something different tonight. I will only be speaking for about 10 minutes, so I want to invite you to get out of your chairs. And I want to invite you to stand with me. Will you tuck your chairs inside? I promise I won't take you through yoga. I want you to go on a journey with me. Take a pause for just a moment, and we will stand amidst ourselves, amidst this glory that is this community. What we have gathered today is not just one person who is speaking with you. Am I speaking with you with an echo also? Is it okay? But what I am doing is I am expressing the journey that I believe each one of us has taken from darkness to light. While Diwali might be a festival rooted in the Hindu tradition, it is a journey, a mystical journey that goes beyond identity. It goes beyond age, it goes beyond gender. It is the human experience. So in my few minutes with you, I want to invite you to go on my journey with me. Take a step, and we'll go around your tables. Take a step and go back into the earliest memory that you have of the darkness that you have ever known. For me, that was when I was just a babe. Memories that I do not even know in my own consciousness. I was born in Bombay. We moved to the city of Hyderabad, where my grandparents lived. And then, in the summer of 1967, when I was 2, my parents left for America. And I was left with my grandparents who loved me. So, as we step, I want you to just think about that earliest memory. When we have to overcome a darkness that we don't even understand because we are so young, we cannot even understand what we're experiencing. I understood then separation that so many in this room have experienced from loved ones. And 2 years later, I was reunited with my mother, who I did not recognize. But in New Jersey, where we called home, I found a new light. I want you to take a step now also. Just move within your own space. When you moved also out of that darkness that you might have known in your earliest age. And I became best friends with a girl named Nancy Drew. There's some people who here know her. She was a girl detective, and she was my best friend in America. She affirmed for me the dignity of a girl with a curious mind, something that's not always welcome in every family. So let's step forward as we move through our own journey of life. I knew another separation from our first home to our second home as we moved to West Virginia. And in those days, a new interpretation of my faith of Islam was coming to the world. And as a girl, I was told that I could not run with shorts or my skin showing on my arms. That was a darkness that I was confronted with. Just think about your own life, your own growth, how it is you entered into your teen years, and take a step forward for yourself. Because you harnessed the same energy that I did to defy the darkness. I continued to run the hills of West Virginia, and my parents stood with me in giving me that freedom. Why does that matter? Because it's those early imprints that give us the strength, the courage. So for many, many years, I lived the life of pursuit. I became a journalist, and I became a reporter for the Wall Street Journal. I was chasing CEOs and presidents, and then something very dark happened in the world, and that was the 9/11 attack. So if you could, for a moment, think about a headline that confronted your life, a tragedy that was so infinite that you thought it would swallow up your entire self. That's how 9/11 felt to me, because as a young Muslim woman in this country, I was finally confronted firsthand with the extremism in my faith, killing innocents. So what did I do? I stepped forward, and I got on a plane to Pakistan, because that little girl who had a curious mind wondered, how did this extremism become expressed in the world? So take a step forward with me in your own space, and remember the strength that you have had when you were confronted with a darkness so profound that you thought you could never understand it. When I went to Pakistan, the most unusual of things happened. I fell in love. It was not something that I was expected as bombs were dropping in Afghanistan. I decided to rent a home on Zamzama Street in Karachi, Pakistan, where I was going to write the great American novel. But then tragedy came. A darkness so intimate and personal, I could never have imagined it. On January 23rd, 2002, a dear friend of mine from the Wall Street Journal came to visit me. He came with his wife, Marianne. She had a baby in her belly, and he came for an interview. I waved goodbye to my friend Danny, and I thought I would see him that night. I said, "See you later, buddy." And that night, he never came back. We learned that that same extremism of my faith that had caused hijackers to get on an airplane and kill innocents on 9/11 inspired men to pluck Danny off the streets of Karachi and kidnap him. I hope in the most sincere of my hearts that, in fact, in your life, you haven't known a day like January 23rd, 2002 was for me. But I imagine that you have. I imagine it may have been a tragedy, unpredicted, a loss in your life that you thought you could not survive. I had to make a choice as the Pakistani government wrote in the newspapers that I was a spy for the government of India, getting a paycheck that I never got, working for an agency whose initials I didn't know. But I had to make a choice, and that was whether in that darkness I was going to try to find the light that would be Danny's rescue. So please, in your own space, think about that moment for yourself when you've been there. and take a metaphorical step, move with your body, and remember the strength that you have had. I wish that my story could end happily, that we found Danny, but we didn't. A knock came on the door 5 weeks later, and we learned that Danny had been murdered. He had been murdered in the most brutal of ways, unimaginable to any human spirit. That little girl who had learned how to absorb the loss of her mother at the age of 2 was now confronted with a separation of a friend that might not seem significant to most, but is so deep and profound, because when you lose a friend, it's a shock because it reminds you of immortality, and you lose friendship. But in that moment, I also learned that I had life within me. I learned that I had a baby. I had fallen in love, remember? But the darkness set in, because in my faith, I didn't have the wedding ring that women are supposed to have. I submerged myself in such a darkness, but I want you to think of somebody who has pulled you out of darkness. Because I came back home to America, and I came back home to the embrace of my parents. My father made a room in his home for me and this baby within my belly. They gave me the unconditional love that is the truest, most powerful light in this world. I want you to think of that person in your life who were like my parents to me. And just hold that close to your heart, because it is that love that pushed me forward. I wept so much during those 9 months, thinking also that my son would emerge into this world with scars upon his face because of the tears that I had swallowed. I know that there's been moments like that in your life when you felt loneliness, sadness, paralysis, but you are all standing here now. You are all standing here in your strength, your profound, deep strength. No matter your biography or your ancestry, you have inherited such a power. And 23 years ago yesterday, I brought that baby into the world. He was my light, and as you can imagine, his skin carried no scars. He was emerged as perfect as is the divine. And I know that you have been in that space when you thought that something was so insurmountable, that nothing beautiful could emerge from it. But I'm here to testify that if we harness that courage of our ancestry and we step forward into the light, we can know the divine. The years since then have been a journey of fighting against extremism, fighting for women's rights, raising my voice, and I stand before you to encourage you, to have you remember this moment when you may be feeling tired on your feet now, and you may wonder, why am I standing here? But I want you to remember what brought you here. Because all of those people who stood here before us, the elected officials, the politicians, the civic servants that we have, the nonprofit organizers, the humanitarians, each one of them has stepped forward. And each one of us can step forward to create, to run for public office, to speak up at our local city council meetings, at our school board meetings, in our communities, in our living rooms, as we become vessels for the light. Because in this journey that we've had in just these few moments, I hope you have gone back into the moments of your life when you felt you were going to be swallowed up by the darkness. And I want to just celebrate you. I want to celebrate you because we have the greatest gift on earth, and that is our breath. We live, we stand here, we step forward, we make choices to be agents of good, and we make mistakes. We make many mistakes, but we always embrace ourselves if we allow with grace and forgiveness, and then course correct so that we can continue to do good in this world. So I hope in this journey that we have had together, you will understand your power. You will understand your power as a mother, as a father, as a parent, as a citizen. Know that so many people before you have struggled like you so that we could enjoy the rights that we have in this world, the right to express our voice, the right to vote, the right to hold public office. Generations ago, these were not rights that were exercised by everybody in the community. So I hope that in the year ahead, you will take the vow that I take tonight to know my power, to know my strength in emerging from darkness, and to continue your path to the light. I will join you in that journey, and I thank you for allowing me to be here with you tonight to share with you my journey. Thank you so much. Thank you.